Over the past 3 years, I have pretty much totally fallen in love with Disneyland. Growing up, I had only ever gone to Walt Disney World. That was our once every 3 years family trip. And it wasn't until I moved out to Arizona for grad school that I went to Disneyland for the first time. And I feel like if I hadn't moved out west, I don't know if Disneyland would really have come up on my radar. I would have been happy just going to Disney World for forever. But I would now say that I consider Disneyland to be my home park, and I wanted to share my favorite things about Disneyland, the park itself, and then also the Disneyland Resort. And I wanted to do this specifically from the perspective of somebody who visits Disneyland as a guest, because I feel like the locals who are there just like every single day, they really do have a different experience and relationship with the park, although there are a lot of the same things that can be enjoyed. But I feel like more people who just kind of continually go back and back to Walt Disney World really should make it worth their time to go out to Disneyland and then hopefully fall in love with it the way that I have. I wanted to start off with a thing that kind of inspired me to make this video. It definitely requires a little bit of explaining to it, but one of my favorite things about Disneyland is the old musty smell to the buildings in the town square area. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like, a musty old smell. It's not that it's the smell itself like, that's a nice musty old building. But what that is for me is the most physical, tangible representation of the age and history of Disneyland Park. The sensation that it conveys to me are these buildings and places have been here kind of as is long enough to get that patina of age. So with this, I'm kind of specifically talking about the Opera House with great moments with Mr. Lincoln, and then also the Disneyana store. Being in there was what kind of makes me realize most of the history of the park. It makes me feel that I'm not just at any theme park, but it really helps me sense the history of the whole place, and then also the fact that it is Walt's park, which I guess kind of segues into my next favorite thing, that this is Walt Disney's park. This is the only Disney park that he has been able to step foot in, and you can still see Walt's touches all around the park today. So this past summer, my friend and I did the Walk in Walt's Disneyland Footsteps tour. It takes you through parts of the park that are a little bit more classic. They play clips of Walt himself talking, and so the tour itself is pretty nice and cool, but it ends in Walt's private apartment above the firehouse. So you get to be in Walt's own space in Disneyland Park, and they've furnished it to be how it was during Walt's time. And one of my favorite things about being up there was just looking down on the guests entering the town square and Main Street area, because it's a view that so few people get, and that's the view that Walt Disney himself would have. And even while there's a lot of commotion and noise and hustle bustle on the Main Street area, it really felt nice and quiet up there. So you can really get a full connection to Walt while being there. I had to kind of disassociate from myself while being in the apartment, otherwise I definitely would have just cried the whole time. If you are a super hardcore big Disney fan, it's definitely a must-do experience. Another one of my favorite things about Disneyland is the attractions are so good, and pretty much everything that has a counterpart is superior at Disneyland. Riding Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland for the first time just blew my mind. It was so incredibly amazing, starting off in the Blue Bayou scene. The ride is so long. Space Mountain is also just so much better. The ride vehicles are a lot better. The track is less shaky. I really like Haunted Mansion because the stretching room, you're actually in the elevator and you can sense that you are taking down, so you can feel the purpose to the stretching room. I will say the only ride that I do believe is better at Walt Disney World is Splash Mountain, which is my favorite ride. It is shorter at Disneyland, the log vehicles are singular, so you get so much splash over on just the small little drops. I still do really like the ride, but I feel like that's kind of the only thing Magic Kingdom has over Disneyland in terms of attractions. Then there's also the Disneyland exclusive attractions like Indiana Jones, which is an absolutely amazing ride. I love that so much. You also have the Matterhorn bobsleds. The Matterhorn is a classic. It's like you always want to do it, but it is super rickety and just kind of shakes you up and jostles you up. If you are a person of larger stature, it definitely is harder to fit inside, but it's an experience you can only get at Disneyland. Another one of my favorite things about Disneyland is the Max Pass system and also the Legacy Fast Pass system they use. I have never used a Magic Band at Disney World, and it just sounds miserable to me to have to book out and plan when you're going on rides 60 days in advance, and you have to like fight to get the top tier attractions. Where at Disneyland, it's still just the regular legacy day of fast pass system, and so you can ride absolutely everything. What I love about Max Pass is that you can make fast pass reservations on your phone. So even though the parks are relatively small and it doesn't take too long to walk around, you just can save and maximize so much time. We just get in a ride queue, make a fast pass, ride the ride, and then go on to the next fast pass, and you just keep going and going. It's also nice for day guests because Max Pass includes unlimited PhotoPass downloads, so you can always get your ride photos. You can also take advantage of all the PhotoPass photographers and make sure to post those photos and tag Disney PhotoPass on it, because I did that, and one of my pictures was actually chosen as the featured Disneyland Resort photo of the week. So I was incredibly excited about that, also because I was wearing my own ears in that and a skirt that I had made. So it's great to get the PhotoPass perks, but I hope that they never change the FastPass system how it is at Disneyland. The park is so driven by locals that there's not really that same planning ahead culture like there is at Disney World. And so if you're somebody who loves attractions and want to ride them all day, the Max Pass system that they offer there is the best. Kind of related to the point in terms of planning ahead is one of my favorite things about Disneyland is that you can have so much spontaneity to your trip. You definitely can plan ahead certain things if you want, but you can just maximize and enjoy kind of whatever you want to do. The furthest in advance you can book anything at Disneyland in terms of experiences are dining reservations 60 days in advance, and even then you almost never have to book that far out in advance. So even if you're there, you can even look to get day of reservations or kind of next day reservations. It's just kind of so much easier to book things and do things there as a guest. That even goes with just booking a whole vacation package. I did a whole video about how we kind of planned and booked our Disneyland vacation for this summer. It really is kind of as nice and easy as you can get, and I'm excited to hopefully book and plan a trip for next year. So although I don't totally love just how absolutely dominated the park is by annual pass holders, one of my favorite, I guess, kind of side effects about that is just how great rope drop on the parks in the morning can be if you get there early. Because it's so many local day guests who will have to drive, you know, maybe a little bit of a distance in, and with LA traffic, they often don't get there right at park open at rope drop. So you truly can get so much done in the opening hours of the park. And also one of my favorite things that I realized there this time was eating breakfast in Disneyland. There actually aren't too many places that offer breakfast since the crowds at that time are the lowest, but it was so peaceful because the crowds were so nice and low. It was just such like a fun, nice, calm way to start the day. You just have this whole wonderful Disneyland ambiance around you, and it really felt like the perfect way to start the day. So you can start your day even earlier at Disneyland if you buy a 3-day or longer ticket. It doesn't even have to be tied to a hotel room, because those tickets come with one magic morning, which is basically an extra magic hour. So that's a really awesome time to be able to take advantage of, because unlike at Disney World, where just about everybody there has extra magic hours because there's a million resorts on property, there's so far less resort and off-site resort guests that even just like using your extra magic hour and the first few hours in the parks, you can pretty much hit all of the big things you want. Another one of my favorite things in terms of maximizing park time is just how easy it is to park hop. You can be in Disneyland Park and then 1 minute later be in California Adventure. I've done it both ways with having a park hopper and not having a park hopper. I can definitely see benefits to not having a park hopper, which kind of forces you to enjoy and explore all aspects of the park that you otherwise might not. But having a park hopper, you can be like, okay, you know, let's start the morning off here, and then we can go and have a lunch reservation over here, enjoy more there, and then come back and you finish with evening entertainment there. So park hopping really is pretty much the easiest thing to imagine. And then also with that, you have the whole downtown Disney district just right there. So pretty much for like a whole day, you can kind of enclose yourself in this Disney bubble with both the parks, and then you can also access the hotels that are there. So you don't have to spend any of your day worrying about transportation of getting from one place to the next. Yet another one of my favorite things about Disneyland is how good the food is. From quick service to the sit-down meals, food there is so good. I'd especially highlight that so much of the quick service food is really fantastic. The only meal I've ever had at Disneyland that I didn't like was a sandwich from the Jolly Holiday Bakery, which came with our Walk and Walt's Disneyland Footsteps tour. That was just like not a good sandwich. But everything else is so good, like Bengal barbecue, the corn dogs there. I love the Tropical Hideaway with their bows. Like in California Adventure, there was Flo's V8 Cafe and all the cozy cones. So again, kind of another little plus side from there being so many locals and annual pass holders is that they seem to step up the food more so that they can entice these locals to eat in the park, who otherwise might have choices to either kind of eat beforehand or bring food with them. By having really good food there ensures that they will spend their money there, but then it just makes it so enjoyable for everybody all around because the food, it doesn't taste just like theme park food, it tastes just like really good food. So I think I'll end off my favorite things with kind of stuff that happens toward the park closing, and that is the nighttime entertainment offers. My absolute favorite Disney show or nighttime entertainment is World of Color, which is at California Adventure. That show just absolutely mesmerizes me. I love it so much. And then there's also Fantasmic available in Disneyland, which is amazing. And what I still can't get over is that they perform it right there on the rivers of America using the same boats that the guests can go on during the day, and with performances on Tom Sawyer's Island, which guests can also go to during the day. And you're just right there along the rivers of America watching this. It just feels so integrated into the park itself. So you can't go wrong with either of these shows to finish out your night. I feel like I could kind of just go like on and on talking about all the things I love about Disneyland. I think there's definitely more of favorite things that could have added to this list, but these are all the things that first kind of come to me when I think about what I love about Disneyland. If you've never been to Disneyland, I hope that you too can go one day and also fall in love with it. But if you are somebody who has been to Disneyland or even frequently visits the park, I'd love for you to share what are some of your favorite things about Disneyland Park and the Disneyland Resort. Also, I wanted to showcase these ears, which are by Imaginext ears, and they're these amazing interchangeable magnetic ears. They are the coolest, and I love having the castle on them. But thanks for watching!